Hey guys, Megan here, and today I want to talk about how to overcome your anxiety and depression. Now, I am not making this video because I feel like it's going to get a ton of views. I don't really think it will. But I have personal experience with this, and I kind of want to share a little bit of my story, and hopefully my story can help anybody who maybe has a similar story. And maybe this is how you found spirituality, mindfulness, and meditation, because it's certainly what led me to it. And even when I did backtrack at times, I knew how to pull myself out of it because I had already known this. And there are so many people out there that don't have these kinds of tools. And those are the people that end up committing suicide because they don't understand how to detach from their mind and how to detach from their thinking. So today, that's kind of what I want to talk about. So when we're thinking about anxiety and depression, what does anxiety and depression stem from? Well, when you think about it, all of that stems from is our thinking. When we think a positive thought, we feel positive, we feel a really good inside. And then when we have a negative thought, or we're complaining a lot or anything like that, we start feeling these negative, lower vibrational emotions. And then we feel like crap. And so, what we really have to understand is that anxiety and depression stems from our thinking, and our thinking produces the emotions that we feel within us. So, if we can understand that our mind does not exist, our mind is not real, then we can start to overcome the ego and overcome the tricks that it likes to play on us in order for us to start overcoming anxiety and depression. We are not the mind. The mind is simply an illusion. It likes to create suffering within you. It likes to try to be sneaky and make you feel thoughts of regret and make you feel thoughts of, oh, I'm never going to be good enough. Oh, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, this person is better than me in X, Y, and Z. That's the mind talking. That's the mind trying to play tricks on you. So don't let it. When you get into these loops of the ego, you feel as though if I can't control everything that's going on the outside, then I can't be okay on the inside. When in reality, it's the opposite. If we can feel good inside, no matter what our outside circumstances are, we then can better our outside circumstances. It has to be that way because you're at the right vibration. So at a certain point in my life, really actually pretty recently, I was a produce manager for a grocery store here. And it was a very mind dominated job. Like, it required that I need to be, focused and really think, things through, and just be there and be present. And for me, I could not go home and just leave work at work. And so it was really a challenge for me. And I had manifested this job thinking that it was something that I would enjoy. And I think that's a part of the journey for a lot of people, is they think if they try to bring something into their life, it's going to bring them joy. And then they realize that really that's just not them anymore. And that's not where their future is headed. Anyways, but during the process of being a produce manager, I wasn't a produce manager for very long, but because I was so wrapped up in my mind and it was so mind dominated, it created so much anxiety and depression within me that I got to the point where I started to feel suicidal. I started to have suicidal thoughts. I didn't get to the point where I started to plan out, just how I was going to do it or anything like that, but just having really, really negative thoughts about myself and a negative viewpoint on me. And it was creating so much suffering. And I don't think anybody knew. I didn't tell my daughter. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell any of my coworkers. I didn't tell really anybody until years later when I was able to pull myself out of it. I was lucky enough that because I had already learned about spirituality and mindfulness, that I knew how to pull myself out of it. But I knew the first step was I have to step down. I can't do this job. I know I need to take care of my mental health. My mental health is my priority. And so I did. And, I don't regret it. And after, really doing some more meditation and practicing more mindfulness, but it did take me months to get myself back into a state where I felt okay. So throughout that process, it's become apparent that our suicidal thoughts are patterns that are formed out of ego. Formed out of ego. What does that mean? Well, I want to kill myself. Who's doing the thinking of that thought? Who's saying, oh, I don't feel okay today? Or, oh, I don't feel pretty enough today? Or, oh, I want to kill myself? Is it you? Or is that thought just arising? That's the real question. So what's the solution to really being able to get back into a state where we're not suffering anymore and we're not letting our thoughts consume us anymore? It is to recognize the true self behind the ego. And if you're in a stage where maybe you have not made much progress, or maybe you go backwards at times, you really have to ask yourself if the reason that is because maybe you're consuming things that are not right for you. Maybe you're not spending enough time reading books and studying the material. You really do have to make a commitment at a certain point. And so if you're not willing to make that commitment, then nothing in your life is really going to change. The first step, as I said, is to recognize that your ego is just simply that. And that the ego can only survive in the past and the future. It cannot live in the now. But then, there's the other part of this, which is your commitment level high enough to the point where you don't want to suffer anymore? And to the point where you're willing to commit your entire life to this work every day. Every second of every day is, I'm going to remain conscious throughout the day. If that means I've got to stop watching certain things on TV, then maybe I got to stop watching certain things on TV. If I need to, spend more time reading, spend more time doing art, things that are going to allow us to observe our mind and not get wrapped up into the 3D reality. That's what we have to do. That is the commitment that you have to make. And if you're not willing to make that commitment, then you are going to suffer for the rest of your life. And I hate to say it, but that is just the truth. You can watch as much self-help material on Facebook as you want. It's not going to get you anywhere unless you're willing to make the commitment. So are you at a point where you're done, where you've had enough of suffering and you want to get out of it? I mean, this is not a YouTube channel where I'm going to, sugarcoat things. I mean, this is the No BS channel. I said that from the beginning, and so my last point that I want to make is as much as possible throughout the day, don't judge the thoughts that arise. Just recognize that they're not real and they'll start to go away. they will start to, you will start to see them as the illusion that they are, which is just thoughts, which will bring you into presence more and more and more. And maybe everything doesn't go your way all the time throughout life, but you're in a state of peace. And even if things don't go your way, you're still okay. You're still happy with life. You can enjoy life, and you might even enjoy being in your inner world more than your outer world. And if you can get yourself to that point, then you're really not going to care what happens either way. So as you disidentify, bring yourself more and more and more inwards and see the world for what it really is, which we are all one. We are all a part of the universe, and our real world, our real life is within us. We just have to recognize that sense. And it is an amazing place to be in. All right, well, I am hot and sweaty, so I'm going to get out of this car. And that's all I've got for today. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next vid. Peace and love. Bye.